Hello everyone, today is 20th February, now it's 11 o'clock in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment. But before I start, let me notice for all the members of our community who will watch this update on YouTube that I have a channel on Rumble platform also, and quite actively trying to develop this channel. And I share here all the updates that I have on YouTube, and same time from Monday to Thursday, 9 o'clock evening Moscow time, I have live streams with Telegram reports program as exclusive for my Rumble channel, and well, hopefully this additional program helps me to reach wider audience and to create this additional interest among our community on YouTube, for example, to join us on Rumble. Also, you can see link under this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And while you will check pin comment or description box, you can see there link to my Telegram, not Telegram, but Telegram also, by the way, subscribe to my Telegram. But you can see also my Twitter account's link, and if you can subscribe to my Twitter, I will be much more active on Twitter. I will try at least, and I will share some additional news there also. And well, this is intro, and now let's talk about news. And first of all, short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. According to reports from Russian media, Russian military channels, so there was no crucial changes on any of the sectors of the front line after Avdiivka operation. I guess in central and northern sectors of the front line there will be little operational pause. And then we most likely will see further increase in the pressure and further offensive operations from Russian armed forces. And right now, as I understand, most active hotspots on the line of contact are in Zaporozhye sector of the front, in Orekhov-Brychad area, and westwards from Orekhov-Brychad in Kamenskaya direction. Yesterday evening, several military channels reported about deployment of by Kiev regime additional forces from Orekhov to Orekhov-Brychad towards Rabotina. Seems like Kiev regime wants to hold on to this settlement, at least for the time being, while topic of Avdiivka is still very active, and if now they will lose Orekhov-Brychad also, and this settlement Orekhov, well, media-wise it will be even bigger devastation, of course, for Zelensky and his criminal associates, and probably they will sacrifice battalion or two just to prolong a little bit more existence of Orekhov-Brychad. But if Russian forces are determined to establish control over this area, I guess that's what's gonna happen in next couple of days. Russian forces are right next to Rabotina settlement. According to some reports, forward units already entered Rabotina from the northern side, from northern western side. Russian forces closing into Rabotina from eastern side, from Verbovo area. And yesterday, military channels reported about breakthrough that Russian forces had in Verbovo area. And as I said, Kiev regime may deploy additional forces in this direction, but I don't think they will be able to hold on to Orekhov-Brychad. Most likely in next several days, before end of this week, Orekhov-Brychad will be under full Russian control. But yet again, only time will tell. And I will end this short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Now, as I said, there was no crucial changes on any of the sectors, and military channels will provide us with much more detailed information, of course, and I'm not gonna enter field of those military channels. They are doing great job. I will continue with some other News RIA Novosti's report here that, well, according to head of DPR, Denis Pushilin, and I spoke about it yesterday in headlines and in my second update, Ukrainian units, Ukrainian military personnel was surrendering in Avdiivka in mass. Pushilin did not share with public exact information on numbers, how many Ukrainian military personnel did surrender in Avdiivka. He didn't provide information, most likely because I guess in Avdiivka there are some areas that Ukrainian military personnel may still hiding, and once entire city will be checked, let's say, and free from any enemy militaries, then we will receive some additional information. But numbers are in hundreds, that's for sure. Numbers are in hundreds, and many channels are speculating. Some say it's more than 1,000 Ukrainian military personnel who surrender. Some say 500, some say less. It's in hundreds, but let's wait official statements and then we will know better. RIA Novosti's report that Ukrainian media reported about explosion on a railway in Vinnytsia region, which is quite interesting because according to Ukrainian media, there was no derailment of the train or anything like that. There was just damage on the railway, but Vinnytsia is quite far away from front line. And if this information is true, then I guess Russian DRGs are quite deep inside the Kiev-controlled territory and are operating there successfully, as we can see. Interesting. RT's report, and I spoke about it in my second update yesterday on Patreon also. Ukraine has used US-made chemical weapons, according to Russian Defense Ministry. This topic is very important, and therefore I will share in today's first update. Also, Washington and Kiev have violated articles of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW, as Ukrainian forces have used illegal munition on the battlefield. Russian Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov has claimed the head of Russia's nuclear, chemical and biological protection forces provided several examples of Kiev's alleged use of banned chemical weapons and non-lethal chemical agents that he said were obtained by Kiev regime from the US. Kirillov claimed that Ukraine used drones to drop US-made gas grenades on December 28, 2023, and those grenades were containing CS compound, a chemical classified as a riot control tool that irritates their ears and their upper respiratory tracts, eyes and upper respiratory tracts, and can cause skin burns, respiratory paralysis and cardiac arrest when used in high quantities or high concentration. Also, he said that delivery of such munition by the US to Ukraine was direct violation of the rules of OPCW, which states that the country must never, under any circumstances, transfer chemical weapons directly or indirectly to anyone. He also reported that on June 15, 2023, Moscow forces were attacked by drone-carrying container filled with the chloropicrine, which is classified as a schedule-free compound under the Chemical Weapons Convention, and is strictly prohibited even for law enforcement purposes. The same chemical was also used by Kiev on August 3rd and 11th, 2023, near the village of Rabotina. According to Kirillov, the general also provided several examples of Kiev using toxic substances against Russian military personnel, as well as poisoning high-ranking officials, such as the head of Russia's Kherson region, Vladimir Saldo, in August 2022. Kirillov said that Russian intelligence believes that Ukrainian forces, under the guidance of the Western backers are developing a new military tactic that would use a chemical belt. This would involve blowing up containers with hydroacidic acid and ammonia to prevent an advance by Russian forces. He added that plans for such a large-scale use of toxic chemicals were evidenced by the fact that Kiev has asked US to supply it with hundreds of thousands of antidotes, gas masks and other personal protective equipment in 2024. That's in addition to 600,000 ampoules of organophosphorus antidotes and 750,000 bottles of drugs for detoxification of mustard gas, lawsuit and hydrocyanic acid derivatives that were supplied by NATO countries in 2023. So this is a big deal. This is definitely red line, as I understand, this chemical warfare that Kiev regime is planning to conduct. And Russia is giving warning. Western ruling class should think about it, because when Russia will act after this warning, no one should start, crying that, look what Russia is doing. This is a clear warning from Russia. That's what they are planning. We know it. Either Washington and Western ruling class is stopping these idiots in Kiev, or we will take action. And then blame on yourself what will come next. And also, by the way, Russian general stated that OPCW was informed about these developments, and there was no reaction from this organization. What a surprise. What a surprise. You know my take on these so-called international organizations that are under full control of Western ruling class. They are fake. All of them, by the way. All of them are fake, including OPCW, of course. And we have additional statements of Russian general, basically, at least indirectly confirming that these organizations that are formally international, but in reality run by Washington, are total fake, or US Secret Services are total fake. RTs report that West was overly optimistic about Ukraine, according to NATO high-ranking NATO commander. Also interesting news, by the way, for many reasons. And let's go through news, and I will share with you my take on it. West grossly overestimated Ukraine's chances of battlefield progress against Russia last year. Senior NATO commander has told Financial Times. His comments came after Kiev's failed counteroffensive and the recent loss of strategic city of Avdiivka. In an interview published on Monday, Admiral Rob Bauer, who chairs of the NATO Military Committee, admitted that Western powers had been overly optimistic about the war in 2023. He was apparently referring to Kiev's ambitious plans to breach Russian defense and reach Crimean Peninsula, which failed to materialize. Bauer was headed Dutch armed forces between 2017 and 2021. He was head of Dutch armed forces, and he claimed that the West believed that if we give the Ukrainians the ammunition, the training they need, they will win. At the same time, he warned against being overly pessimistic in 2024, stating that despite recent setbacks, Ukraine remains a sovereign nation. Okay, what is interesting here in this interview, that Bauer is claiming that they were over-optimistic on Ukrainians, on possibilities or opportunities or battle capabilities of Kiev regime, which is false in my understanding. Which is false. He is not telling the truth. They were making optimistic statements, that for sure, but I find it difficult to believe that in NATO, by the way, in all the think tanks that are working for NATO NATO member states. And among military personnel of NATO member states, there were not even single adequate general or colonel or thinker that would realize that in no circumstances, Kiev regime will be able to succeed with this so-called counteroffensive. It was too obvious, and it was too obvious to me, by the way, and I'm not military expert. And it's supposed to be obvious for military experts that Kiev regime will just sacrifice its strategic reserves during that counteroffensive in Zaporozhye and Donetsk sectors that took place in the summer 2023, and that's exactly what happened, and I don't think that was a surprise for Western ruling class. I think they wanted exactly that result. They knew perfectly well that Kiev regime will sacrifice these brigades. Kiev regime will lose more manpower, tens of thousands of battle-capable personnel, and they wanted this. And you know why? It might sound like some kind of fantastic scenario, but we should always remember, dear friends, that everyone understands, everyone who is capable of analyzing big picture, I guess understands that after this conflict will end, Ukraine will be divided between Russia and the West. It's just inevitable. And Western ruling class, or NATO, let's say, to simplify, NATO will control Western Ukraine. NATO will control Western regions of Ukraine. And to receive as minimal, and it will be occupation, no matter under which source they're gonna, or under what pretext they're gonna send their military personnel into the Western Ukraine, it will be occupation. It will be seen as occupation by Ukrainian society, and first of all, by the way, by Ukrainian neo-Nazis. And the Western Ukraine is a stronghold, ideological stronghold of Ukrainian neo-Nazis. And of course, Western secret services, think tanks, militaries know that they will have resistance. There will be resistance, especially from neo-Nazis in that Western Ukraine once they will send their military. Under whatever pretext, once again. If they will claim that they are protecting Ukraine, still they're gonna, immediately or in time, they're gonna receive resistance. And to minimize potential for potential or possible resistance, they are willing to sacrifice every single military-age man in Ukraine. Every single one of them. And that's why, by the way, they were pushing Zelensky on this suicidal counteroffensive in the spring and the summer last year. That's why right now, like a week ago, they recommend Zelensky to send its third brigade, by the way, third assault brigade towards Avdiivka. And I remind you, dear friend, that third assault brigade is Azov brigade. Everyone knew that that brigade will be decimated in Avdiivka. And that's exactly what happened. It took just 3 days, isn't it? Just 2-3 days, and this third brigade lost its battle capabilities. And at this point, no one probably knows how many units were destroyed, how many casualties that brigade had. It's more than 1,000 for sure. And that's my take, by the way. This individual, this Bauer, is lying. They did not overestimate nothing. They were making statements, exaggerated statements about Ukraine's counteroffensive and possibilities, when in reality they knew perfectly well they are pushing Kiev regime to sacrifice military-age men, so that when Western states will occupy Western Ukraine, they will receive as minimal resistance as possible. I spoke about this, by the way, many times before, and I'm still remaining on these positions. That's what is happening, because it's just impossible to believe that in NATO which contains, I don't know, man, a few dozen of countries, isn't it? 40 countries, plenty of them. There is not even a single think tank, adequate really capable think tank, or not even single adequate colonel or general. It's not possible, really, isn't it? So that's what is going on, in my opinion. They are sacrificing military age men of Ukraine, and they don't care if all of them will die on the Eastern Front. All they care is to receive as minimal resistance in the Western Front, once this front will be created, when NATO member states will launch their operations in the Western Ukraine. But anyway, let's continue. I hope it does make sense, my explanation of my understanding of the situation. After all, I'm not native speaker in English, and it's not always easy to explain what I mean in the way that I want to. But anyway, let's continue. TASS News Agency is reporting that, and this is also a big deal, by the way, US is considering now, US administration is considering to transfer to Kiev regime long-range ATACMS missiles that can be launched from HIMARS multi-launch rocket systems. ATACMS missiles already have been delivered to Kiev regime, but shorter range, ones that have a little shorter range, these ones that are discussed now probably will be able to reach Crimean Bridge, any area in Crimea, and so they will be quite capable to hit deep inside Russian territory. Crimea is already deep inside Russian territory, and if you take a look distance from Crimea, for example, to Nikolaev region, where Ukrainian units have some positions now, it's hundreds of kilometers. And missiles with a range of hundreds of kilometers can be launched, for example, from Kharkov region towards Moscow region, for example. That might reach even Moscow. It depends again on the range of missiles. And seems like Washington is considering now to transfer long-range weapons, longer-range ATACMS missiles. And if they have longer range than previous ones, that must be 300 to 500 kilometers, which is definitely another red line that will be crossed by Washington if these missiles with this type of range will eventually end up in hands of Kiev regime. I remind you, dear friends, that Moscow has no way to know if those missiles have nuclear warhead or not. If you remember, some time ago I reported that Russian military is considering the deployment of F-16s, for example, on the battlefield from West as a strategic threat, not because these F-16s are some know-how and super pooper fighter jets. They are okay fighter jets, good fourth generation fighter jets, but Russia can deal with those planes. Issue is that those planes are capable of carrying nuclear weapons, and Moscow will have no way to know what type of weapons are on those planes, and that may trigger responses from Moscow. And this is very dangerous. This is very dangerous, obviously. Same goes for these long-range missiles, by the way. ATACMS missiles, and same story is with the German Taurus missiles. I guess Moscow warned them. Moscow warned Washington and warned Berlin that this will be a huge mistake, because Moscow has no way to know what kind of warhead these missiles have. And who knows, maybe Washington wants to blow up, maybe Biden's administration wants to blow up Moscow, by the way, with nuke. Who knows, man? Can you trust Biden's administration? No. Are they sane people in leadership of US? No. Are Western ruling elites are sane in general? No. So that's why I'm saying, by the way, this is big deal This is big deal, and at some point, if Washington, London, these other capitals continue this escalation with Moscow, at some point Kremlin may find itself in a situation when Putin and his inner circle will say, "No, what? Enough is enough. We have to respond now." Exactly because just look what is going on. How anyone in Russia should know what kind of warheads these missiles have? Maybe they are equipped with nukes. So Moscow not just have to do something about it, but Moscow government of Russia is obligated to react on this. It's their obligation. That's why they are in power. They have to protect Russia. And this is a clearly strategic threat to Russia, this type of development. So that's why I'm saying, man, these crazies in leadership of Western states may wantedly or unwantedly, but they may trigger some really third world war, man. If they continue this irresponsible behavior. Anyway, let's continue. TASS news agencies report that Bulgaria delaying deliveries of promised to Kiev regime 100 BTR-60s, I believe, 100 personal carriers, armored personal carriers, old generation personal carriers, but still they promise Kiev regime that they will deliver this 100 armored vehicles, and they are now asking for money NATO to transfer these weapons. So I guess government in Bulgaria want to make some money on this scrap. I don't know, but something is going on, man, in Bulgaria. Of course, this older generation BTR-60, I mean, to know this designation, 60 means it was built in the 60s. Then 70, BTR-70 was built in 70s, BTR-80 was built in 80s. And now Russia has the latest BTRs, BTR-82, for example, is a derivative of BTR-80, basically, a little bit improved, and that's it. And BTR-60s are really like older than majority of people on this world, I guess. But anyway, let's continue. Bulgaria wants to make some money on that weapons. Okay, why not? RT's report that well, Germany gives timeline for possible Russian attack. I did speak about it also on this topic yesterday in the second update, but I will share with you also in case you did not read this news. So Russia may attack NATO within the next 5 to 8 years, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius has claimed in an interview with the Bloomberg. I would not stop on this topic too long, but it's interesting that these people, so-called leaders of the Western world, they are even unable to coordinate between each other to come up with one number. It would be more persuasive, isn't it, if they will say that Russia will attack like in 3 years' time, in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, or whatever. Just come up with one number. Otherwise, you look like a clown, because every other day, high-ranking official in one of the NATO countries making statements that Russia will attack in 3 months, in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I mean, I can understand that they have been given order to scare people in the West that war is coming, Russia will attack, but for God's sake, just make it a little more realistic and come up with one number, for God's sake. Because I guess at this point everybody is laughing at these clowns, man. Including on this German defense minister. And unfortunately, as I said many times before, there is nobody in the West, in MSM, in the mainstream media, to challenge these people. Why would Russia attack in 5 or 8 or whatever year, in whatever year? What is the evidences? What you are doing to prevent this attack? Because we are talking about nuclear superpower that has 5,000 to 7,000 nuclear weapons, nuclear warheads. It's a scary stuff. But these people are talking about war with Russia like it's nothing. How crazy is that? And unfortunately, there is no journalists in the Western mainstream media to challenge these people. Give us any evidence. I mean, you are talking about very serious stuff. It's existential stuff for the world, basically, because war between Russia and NATO means end of everything. And if you are serious politician, if you are serious human being, official, and claiming that Russia will attack, for example, in case of Pistorius, in 5 to 8 years, give us some evidences. They didn't attack us ever, and they're gonna attack us now. Why? What you have in your hands? Because from Moscow there is no statements, not threatening statements. It's exactly the opposite. But yet again, nobody is challenging these people, man, which is, you know. Let's continue. And RT's report yesterday, this news broke up that Russian military pilot who defected to Ukraine was found dead, according to Spanish media. So this Russian pilot, Maxim Kuzminov, defected in 2023. Probably you remember that story. He defected in 2023 with his Mi-8 helicopter, and there was two crew members on the board, and rumors are that he killed these two crew members before flying helicopter to Kiev controlled territory. There are other rumors, that other version, that he hijacked helicopter and landed it in the pre-designated area, and he was in communication with the Ukraine Secret Services, and then Ukraine Secret Services killed those two other pilots. Whatever the case, he is a traitor. He is guilty, directly guilty, in killing of two Russian pilots. He is guilty in hijacking Russian helicopter, and he can be no forgiven. There is no forgiveness for that, ever. And if he was killed, by the way, there's reports that once he was in Ukraine, of course, Kiev regime tried to make a media story from him, but people really fairly in short time forget about him, because no one really cared about him in Ukraine. He was given some money, and seems like he left for Spain. And on 13th of February, according to reports in Spanish media, he was found dead. He was shot several times, and whoever did that then drove car over his body, maybe to make sure that he's definitely finished. And the question is now, who did this? I mean, still rumors are circulating that this is him or not him, but whatever the case, if this information is correct, and yet again, I mean, media outlets are reporting about it, then the question is, it was Russian patriots who saw him, remember what he's done, and take him out, or it was work of Ukraine's secret services, military intelligence, for example, because of the timing. Because of the timing. Few days ago, Navalny died in prison, and it was only just like 15 minutes, 20 minutes after news broke up about death of Navalny, and dozens of high-ranking officials in the West, as if under order, strict order, start making very strong statements on Navalny. Many of them probably have no idea who Navalny was, but they were making quite similar statements if they were reading in one message. and blaming, of course, Russia, blaming Russian government and so on, in death of Navalny. And now this traitor is killed in Spain, according to media reports, and who they gonna blame straight away? Of course, Russia again, to reinforce this narrative that well, Russia is killing people left and right. And that's why I think he was killed. If this information is true, most likely he was killed by Ukraine's secret services, with active coordination with the Western secret services, with CIA, MI6. I mean, you know, they are in charge of Ukraine's secret services. So and that's what I think, if it's true, because obviously no one gonna cares if this traitor is dead. Maybe his family members, yes, okay, and even they probably are regretting that they raised this type of individual that portrayed his people, his society, his comrades, his country, and I mean, this guy is a shame for his family forever. And if he is dead, no one gonna cares about it. But question is, who take him out? And I think it was Western secret services and Ukrainian secret services. Let's see what additional informations we will have. But yet again, it's all about timing, man. Timing sometimes are quite telling. RIA Novosti's report that Putin will address Federal Assembly on 29th of February. This is a traditional event, and usually Putin does make some interesting statements during this address, highlights directions in which priorities will be oriented for next year or several years time. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. So I guess all the media outlets and public worldwide will try to learn as much as possible about, and then share information about statements of Vladimir Putin. And okay, let's continue. And this is also interesting, by the way. RT is reporting that EU demands international investigation into the Navalny's death. Russia must allow international investigations into the death of opposition activist and anti-corruption campaigner Alexei Navalny. The EU's top diplomat Josep Borrell has said, you know what? First of all, of course, this is absolutely Russian internal affair, death of Navalny, and Russia don't have to allow anybody to the investigation. But it would be interesting to, if it's, I mean, according to law, if it's even possible. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know how judiciary system works, but if it's possible, it would be interesting if Russia will invite investigator teams from China, from India, from South Africa, and Brazil, BRICS member states, to conduct independent investigation. That would be, by the way, I guess, good answer from Moscow on this initiative of the Borrell. Okay, let's do it. Because, you know, I'm 100% sure, by the way, Kremlin has nothing to do with his death. Absolutely nothing. If anything, Kremlin's interest was to make sure that nothing will happen with this individual, exactly because if anything will happen, this story will be used against Russia, against Russian government, to further demonize our country, and that's what exactly is happening. So therefore, if Russian law allows to invite investigators from BRICS member states, let them in. Let them do investigation, independent investigation. And let's see what this Western so-called elites gonna say then. Or they're gonna say they don't trust any country in the BRICS, or what they're gonna do. And dear friends, when it comes to this Navalny story, I want to share with you one idea. It's just, I'm not saying that this is the case. I'm just saying that theoretically it's a possibility, and it would be interesting if that's the case. Maybe Russian intelligence had the information that Western secret services were planning hit on Navalny. Most likely, if that's the case, most likely Russian secret services have some photo, video evidences of that, audio evidences of that. And maybe to make sure that Navalny is safe and secure, they come up with this story that hit was conducted on Navalny, Navalny died. And we all see reaction of the West, isn't it? Western ruling class. Navalny's wife was in strange circumstances, isn't it? How convenient that Navalny's wife was in Munich Security Conference. It was just 15 minutes past since the information broke up, and a bunch of these high-ranking officials in the West come up with similar statements as if under order. They are pushing this narrative that Kremlin take him out and so on. And if, by the way, Navalny is alive, but Russian security services, to make sure that he is safe, if hit was planned on him by Western secret services, they may spread information that he died, then talk him somewhere in a safe place. And, well, if they will reveal him now, and will reveal all the factual evidences that Western ruling class, Western secret services was planning to conduct hit on him, that would be boom, by the way. That will finally destroy whatever is left from Western, from reputation of the Western ruling elites. Isn't it? Theoretically, by the way, that's possible because law enforcement agencies quite often declaring some people dead to protect them when they know that hit was ordered on these people. It's a usual practice. It's done in every country to protect potential casualties. And if that's the case, by the way, I don't have any how should I say? I don't have any factual evidence that it is the case. Nobody has any real information except few people what has happened, but well, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. And by the way, maybe I can to reinforce my take on the situation, maybe information that Navalny's body was not yet given to his family is kind of can be seen as an indicator that maybe he is alive, by the way. Maybe he was protected by security services. But yet again, this is pure speculation, by the way, on my part. I don't know, obviously, what happened, but it is possible. It is possible that Russian forces knew that he was in a hit list of the Western secret services, because he in prison, not really useful for the Western ruling class, but if they will kill him, they could use this information to generate additional wave of anti-Russian hysteria and so on, and that's what they did after information broke out. And if now it will turn out that he is alive, by the way, that's gonna be huge success on part of Russian secret services, of course, because they save a human being. And also, I mean, it's gonna be totally devastating for the Western ruling class, 100%, by the way. But anyway, no one really knows what is going on, but I mean, let's wait and see. I mean, yet again, before investigation come up with conclusions, everything is a speculation. Everything. RIA Novosti's report that on the eastern Syria, in the eastern Syria, US base come under fire, under missile fire once again. No reports about casualties among U.S. military personnel, but well, I guess these kind of actions will only increase. There was some little pause after U.S. strikes on so-called Iranian proxies in the Syria and Iraq, but well, I guess they are active again and willing to risk by striking U.S. bases. Also, RT is reporting that Brazil recalls ambassador from Israel. As you know, Israeli foreign minister declared Brazil's president Lula da Silva persona non grata because of his statements about situation in Palestine. And then Brazil, we have information here that Brazil recalls ambassador from Israel. And also media reported yesterday that despite the demands from Israeli side that President of Brazil should apologize, Lula da Silva has no plans to apologize to nobody. And well, relationships between the countries are deteriorating very rapidly these days. And well, recall of ambassador, this is a last step before diplomatic relationships are cut. So that's a reality. I don't think Israel can bully Brazil. I really don't think so. Brazil on its own is a serious power, and Brazil is a member of BRICS, and BRICS nations will stand next to it. So Israel at some point has to back down. If they don't like statements of President of Brazil, it's their issue, it's their problem. It's not Brazil's president's problem. RT's report here that German foreign minister says that EU is ready to hit Russia with new round of sanctions. Okay. Does anybody cares at this point on this topic? I wanted to share this information just to highlight this, that at this point, just nobody really cares. Go ahead, EU, and come up with some new sanctions. You're gonna sanction eventually. When you start sanctioning really air from Russia, air that is generated, or oxygen that generated by Russian forestry in Siberia, well, that's when maybe some people among Western ruling elites will start realizing that something is wrong with all of them there, with these so-called elites. But anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti's report that IAEA, by the way, International Atomic Energy Agency, is giving a warning to Western countries to be cautious when it comes to sanctioning Russian nuclear energy sector, because if they will sanction, that will be devastating that might be devastating for a world. And it might cost billions and billions, uncounted amount of billions, including to the Western states. And I remind you, dear friends, that Russia is a major player when it comes to civilian nuclear energy. And by the way, this is rare occasion when IAEA does make some understandable statement, but yet again, that this statement has done because they working for the masters in the West, and some experts in IAEA understand how irrational those sanctions are and how damaging they are for their own masters. That's all, really. That's all they care. They don't care about Russia, of course. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that UAE banks closing Russian accounts. I spoke about it yesterday in my second update. Well, I will repeat now that several large banks in the United Arab Emirates have begun closing the accounts of the Russian companies. First tier banks in UAE for quite a long time now are operating under the threat of secondary sanctions from the West and distancing themselves from Russian businesses, Russian partners. Now secondary tier banks are also doing the same. They are afraid of sanctions. And yet again, this information, something similar happened with some banks in China, by the way. And this information is important because once again highlights need, real worldwide global need in alternative financial and banking system, alternative to the Western financial and banking system. And I guess all these countries, by the way, BRICS members, all the new rest of the community worldwide, except Western world, because of course Western world will not participating in this work, but the rest of the world definitely in a situation now when it's just necessary to come up with alternative financial and banking system so that businesses will continue to operate. Otherwise we will see destruction, significant destruction on the world market, because I mean right now Washington can really destroy any business. Washington can destroy any business if they want to, with the sanctions. Any business in vulnerable countries. They cannot destroy nothing in Russia, but Russia is a different story. So therefore it's necessary, man, that some alternatives have to be created so that countries will do business as usual without being afraid that Washington may don't like something, and Brussels may don't like something and may sanction us. What the hell is Washington and Brussels, by the way, to intervene in a business between Russia and United Arab Emirates, for example? What the hell? And how long this craziness is going to continue? And I'm kind of surprised that BRICS nations did not yet come up with these alternatives. There are some alternative in Russia, alternative for the this Western system, SWIFT. There are some local alternative in China and I guess in India also, but it's necessary to come up with a united alternative, one for rest of the world. It's just necessary. Why these BRICS countries are so slow in developing this stuff? Is it that difficult? I mean, Russia, China, India, they have best programmers. South Africa, Brazil, by the way, are the new members of the BRICS. They have best programmers in this world, man, best technologies. Come up with the alternatives for this SWIFT and Western financial system. Why you are allowing Western ruling class to bully you, man? What the hell? But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that poverty in Argentina soars to record high, according to studies, and the jump is quite significant from 44.7 to 57.4, and this is just in this last quarter. And significantly, this is due to these crazy so-called reforms that this new president of Brazil is conducting, when he's firing thousands of people left and right, and he's closing, shutting down entire institutions. By the way, it's a total mess in Argentina, man. I don't know how that country gonna survive, even if it's possible at this point, because this crazy was just elected, and in next 4 years time most likely he will make from Argentina, I don't know, man, something like Somalia. It is possible, highly likely. RT's report, by the way, that Czech Prime Minister labels protesting farmers supporters of Moscow. Yes, everybody is Moscow's agent and Russian assets if they want to protect themselves. That's the level of Western political elite, by the way, and their culture. The Czech Prime Minister is allowing himself to call his fellow citizens names Yeah, first of all, nothing is wrong to be Moscow supporter. It's actually cool. If you are Moscow supporter, you are on the good side of history, so that it's cool, absolutely. But when Prime Minister is trying to blackmail you just because you are protecting your basic rights, you are protecting your business, your family, your country, after all, because farmers and farming industry in Czech Republic is a significant part of economy. And when you are protecting these basics and government is calling you names, I mean, this is crazy, man. This is crazy. And that's a level of political culture, not just in Czech Republic, among Czech so-called elites, but just about everywhere in the Western world. Look what happened to Tucker Carlson, man. He was called the names, man, from every side, just because he had the interview. How crazy is that? So, I mean, degradation of Western ruling class is unmatched, by the way, and has no boundaries. I mean, they will fail further down. Just mark my words, by the way, they will continue to fail because, I mean, as I said, man, the downfall of Western ruling class is unstoppable. RIA Novosti is reporting that, and this is good information, by the way, that trade between Russia and India reached a record high and increased 180%, by the way, last year, and reached 65 billion US dollars. Of course, 65 billion may not sound huge, when we are talking about Russia and India. But, well, that was a reality, by the way, that trade was relatively low between the countries, like around 30 billion, 20 billion, and now it's increased up to 65 billion, almost twice, which is great, by the way, which is great news. I will always repeat that from every point of view, strategic security and strategic planning and whatever, Russia and India should have great friendly relationships forever. That's only right approach and only right way to go, and both capitals understand this, and it's great. And by the way, I want to share this information that before 2030, Moscow will have 3 new lines of metro. I mentioned this in the headlines yesterday, and I spoke about it, of course, in second update in a little more detail. And well, I guess it's worth to share this information in this update also, because Patreon is paid subscription, and our community is quite tiny there. And well, although of course I cannot share every information that I have in the second updates for Patreon, but anyway, let's continue. And though before 2030, 3 new lines will be introduced to Moscow: Troitskaya, Rubleva, Arkhangelskaya, and Birulyovskaya. 48 stations will be added to Moscow's metro. 39 stations will be new, completely new, and 9 stations will be transferred ones from railway stations to metro stations. So it's a big deal, by the way. It's a big deal, of course. Moscow already have maybe one of the best infrastructure when it comes to logistics and transport, municipal transport in the world, I guess. Moscow is definitely leading the way, and the city is extremely friendly, very friendly, really very friendly to its residents, and will become even more comfortable to live or to visit, let's say. with additional this metro stations. So it's a good news, good for Moscow, good for Moscow region, and good for Russia, by the way, also, of course. Whatever good is happening, it's good for everybody. And this is it for now. Quite a long update about hour, but hopefully you will find this news that I presented interesting, update itself informative and useful. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like, just about anything. More likes and comments supposed to help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channels on both platforms, YouTube, Rumble, with your friends on any of the platforms that you are actively using. And if you think this channel, this small media project of mine with several channels, several programs are interesting, useful, informative, and has some potential or deserves to exist, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see all the links in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.